Hey, so 2.0 is going to be giving us some new artifacts, so we're going to be talking about them, starting with the Emblem of Severed Fate. Now, this one is basically going to be your replacement for Noblesse. This doesn't necessarily mean that Noblesse is dead, because Noblesse is still going to be realistically only used on Bennett. It's still a very good set for him, but you can switch over to this one if you want. Noblesse is not completely dead, but for the most part, it's dead, because this is going to be used for your sub-DPS characters, which most probably already were using Noblesse. So the 4-piece of this one is going to be increasing your elemental burst damage by 25% of your energy recharge, which, if it's taking into account the base 100 that everybody already gets, that is 25% increased damage right off the bat. That's automatically already better than Noblesse, so that's really good. But it also gives you 20% energy recharge on its 2-piece. Now, it does say that the maximum is 300%, or I guess the maximum is 75% of your energy recharge, which would be 300 energy recharge. Generally speaking, you shouldn't ever do that, just because the opportunity cost of having energy recharge when that could have been attack is not going to be as high as if you just replaced it with attack. Like, there's a perfect ratio in there. Obviously, I don't know what it is because it's not even out yet, but I can tell you right now that going 300 is not worth it. I can say that with pretty good certainty. So a pretty good baseline would be like 200 energy recharge, because 200 energy recharge would increase your burst by 50%, which is already incredibly strong. And 200 energy recharge is incredibly easy to get, because not only are you getting the 20% from the 2-piece, but having an energy recharge weapon or an energy recharge sands is on average 50%. So getting 50% from those two already brings you up to 170. So you only need 30 within your subs, which is pretty easy to get, because on average, the energy recharge from just one sub, I think it's like 5 to 6%. So you can just have that on every single one of your artifacts, and you already have 200%. Like, that's really easy to get. It's really easy to build, but also you're not going to need like incredible artifacts. It's just going to be the same thing. You're just going to want to focus on attack and crit rate, crit damage, just like all of your other support DPSs. This is especially going to be good on characters that have really high cost ults, like Xingqiu, like Beidou, like Xiangling. I don't know what Mona's is, but I would assume it's probably like 60 energy. Is going to be good for her. Any other character you use specifically for their ults, like Chongyun, maybe even Kaya as well, you can give them this set. Is going to be incredibly good for them, just because increasing their burst damage is something they were already using. You're just using Beidou for her burst damage, you're using Xiangling for her burst damage, you're using Xingqiu for his burst damage. So capitalizing on that is really good. But what makes this especially good to farm is that not only are we going to be getting this one, but we're also going to be getting a really good DPS set, which is basically the replacement to the Gladiator set. But I feel like most people weren't really using Gladiator just because it is the most universal. However, it was very difficult to farm because you can only get it from bosses. This is very easy to farm, so you're going to be getting a lot better artifacts in comparison to your Gladiator set, so this is just really good for that. That being said, even though it is a DPS set, it's not going to be used for every DPS character. There are some DPSs that are not going to work with it. I believe specifically like Diluc, because of his interaction with Crimson Witch, it's not really going to work with this one, I would assume. However, I don't know, it's not even out yet, but this is going to be probably the best set for Yoimiya and Ayaka, which is why it's coming out right now. However, you are going to be able to use this with any other DPS character. Like if you were using Razor, you can use it on him. If you're using a Keqing, you can use it on her, which is great because you can finally use an Electro Keqing with the new weapons that we're going to get, which I also want to talk about. But I'm going to try that. I'm going to try to use an Electro Keqing so we can finally do that as a free-to-play. Now, I know it says that whenever you use an elemental skill, it'll drop your energy by 15, which sounds significant, but if you're using this on a main DPS character, you're basically using everybody else's ults on the team to support that main character, and because they're going to be on the field for the most amount of time, any energy that was created by your support characters are all going to be funneled into your main DPS character. So even if they are losing 15 energy, they're going to be getting it back pretty easily. So even if they rely on their ult, like Keqing, like you can use her for her ult also, it's not going to be that big of a deal because she's still going to get the energy pretty easily. Not to mention that when you use your skill, assuming that it's instantaneous, if you use your skill and you lose 15 energy, your skill will produce elemental particles, usually 2 to 3, maybe even 4, which will go right into the 15. So even if you have 0 energy recharge, you get net 11 or 12 minus, but if you have energy recharge, it's even less than that. So minus 15 sounds like a lot, but in reality it isn't. It just makes it really easy to use, which I don't know why it increases everything by 50%. Like, that is ridiculous. So the biggest thing of like why you would want to farm this dungeon over really any other dungeon is because it is so universal. So many characters can use the first artifact set, the energy recharge artifact set. So many characters can use that. So many DPS characters can use the DPS set. So for efficiency's sake, if that's what you care about, this would be the one that you farm, obviously. Well, maybe not obviously, but potentially specialized artifact sets such as the Crimson Witch for a Pyro DPS or a Heart of the Depth for a Hydro DPS. Those might be still better than this set. However, they're going to be pretty on par just from like numbers perspective. I feel like they would be pretty on par, but I don't think the difference is going to be that much that you would need to farm a Crimson Witch over anything, or you would need to farm Heart of the Depth or anything. Like for my child, he's not even using Heart of the Depth, and he never was. I farmed it a little bit, but I can never get an actually good set. He does more damage without the Heart of the Depth, so I will be able to transition over to this one. But yeah, both of these artifacts are incredibly good, and you should definitely be farming this one over really anything else. So save your resin for this. Let me know what you think about it. I think it's going to be like the number one set everybody's going to be using now. And this is like the new age of power creep, which makes sense because it's 2.0, but 50% increase to normal and charge attacks is kind of nutty. It was on Bloodstain, but it was like heavily gated by a condition. You needed to kill an enemy, which in some cases is never even active. It makes sense that power creep is going to be happening, but this is like the first instance where it's like, this is power creep. This is power creep. It's happening right now. And seeing the journey of it is going to be interesting. I don't know if you've played Brave Frontier. This might be your first gacha game. If it is, then whatever. If you are a gacha veteran, you may have heard of Brave Frontier and why it is so notorious for its power creep. This is like starting to get there. Because in Brave Frontier, there's also something there that was like an artifact. You would equip it. It was always like, oh, it increased something by 10%, something like 15%. And then nowadays, it's like increases everything by 25%. And it does this. And it also does this. And I'm just waiting until artifacts actually get to that point. That's going to be ridiculous. But that's in like 2-3 years, hopefully. We'll see. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, hope you're having a fantastic day. Like and subscribe if you want. I would really appreciate it. Tickle my bell if you want. And I will see you in the next one, which is probably going to be talking about the new weapons as soon as they drop. Bye-bye.